The U.S. is warning Russia to back off in Syria. The concern, Russia's growing military buildup there could lead to more violence and chaos in the country's four-year-old civil war. Heather Sells has that story.
On Wednesday, Secretary of State John Kerry called the Russian foreign minister for the second time in 5 days. The message, U.S. concern over reports of Russia's growing military buildup in Syria. One U.S. official told the Associated Press that the U.S. has seen the Russians fly a variety of military assets into Latakia, a Syrian coastal city on the Mediterranean. It's believed that the Russians are planning some sort of air operation. But Russia says the West has a, quote, strange hysteria over its activities in Syria, saying that Moscow has supplied weapons and military advisors to the country for years. Russian President Vladimir Putin has long said that his arms sales to Syria are just part of international efforts to combat the Islamic State. That's what makes the situation complicated. Both Moscow and Washington oppose ISIS, but the U.S. also wants to see new leadership in Syria, while Russia's military buildup there could allow Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad to continue his lock on power. Meanwhile, the world must grapple with the massive Syrian refugee crisis, where more than 4 million have fled in just 3 years.
The conflict is a colossal tragedy for Syria and a shameful symbol of international divisions. History's judgment will be harsh.
President Obama's critics have called for a more forceful military response in Syria and accuse him of, quote, leading from behind. The current crisis before us is not a migrant issue, said Senator John McCain this week. It's a mass exodus of refugees who are fleeing conflicts that this administration has refused to address for years. Heather Sells, CBN News.
Pat, your thoughts on that?
Well, you wonder how long, we wring our hands. Senator McCain wrings his hands. There has to be a strategy that can rein in the president and force action. But he is the commander-in-chief, and we put him in there. The United States electorate put that man in office, and he doesn't know what he's doing. And if he does, it is the wrong thing that he wants to do. But something's got to be done in Syria. It's an open sore. And let me tell you, Vladimir Putin is a great man at bluffing. He doesn't have much money. He doesn't have a very strong economy. He doesn't have a very strong nation. A great deal of Russia is third world poverty stricken. And yet he's bluffing. And we refuse to call his bluff. If we put forces into the Ukraine, which we have not actually done, if we put forces into the Baltic, which we haven't done, maybe a few airplanes, but we haven't really put serious troops into that area. If we put support into Syria, and if we, honest to goodness, back the Kurds against ISIS, we would see the whole situation change, and it wouldn't cost a great deal, but it has to be done. Either we're going to, as the nation, take on our role as the leading power of the free world, or else we will surrender to the forces of chaos and anarchy and to dictatorship, totalitarians such as the Russians. It's going to happen. Now, whichever way it is, but we have a president who absolutely refuses to act. And they make all this stuff and say, well, don't you dare go into Syria. And then the Russians laugh at us because we refuse to take any serious action. And we're scared of the Poles and the progressives and all these people who make up the core of the opposition. And you just say, what in the world are we letting happen? We will wake up one day and we will give to our children and grandchildren a much different world than what was given to us. And we owe it to the future generations to preserve freedom. And if we don't do it, it will be responsibility on our shoulders, and we'll have to pay the consequences.